We're really excited to be here today with Carla Sciaky. And Carla is a singer, a songwriter, an author, a Baroque chamber orchestra musician. She has 10 CDs. She's also a mentor and a coach.
Yeah, she's a teacher and a healer. And in fact, we're going to quote something from Carla's Doorway to Healing website, in which she says, "Life brought me nose to nose with my own brand of challenges, and it took time and searching to get to where I am now, feeling very well and far happier than I ever knew a person could feel." And you know, that quote is why we wanted to talk to Carla, because we want to know how. Want to know how to do that, Carla. How did you get from here to there?
Yeah, talk a little bit about how your career and how you started a little bit.
My music career started kind of accidentally a long time ago. I was 16, actually, when I got my first, the kind of breakthrough gig. And I was singing with a partner. And then by a few months later, we were three in the band, and then four in the band, and then finally five in the band. That band was called Propinquity. And for a band that formed when I was 16, we were pretty successful. We had some US tours, and we had a recording which just got re-released early this century. And I, had planned to be an elementary school teacher. So that was not my ambition, to be a performer. So eventually the band broke up very amicably. I'm still very, very close friends with the other guys in the band. And I went back to school, and I didn't become an elementary school teacher. Instead, I ended up in another branch of music, which led me to medieval and Renaissance music and a whole world of instruments I'd never heard of before. And graduated from college stoically and staunchly determined to use my academic degree, but I could not land a real job, and ended up, I was a bookkeeper for a few years, and that was not the future I had planned. So I ended up quitting my day job in January of 1981, and became a full-time musician with, I think, $500 in the bank. And
Oh, you were rich.
yeah, at the time, yeah, my grandmother had just died, actually. And that was the money that I received. And I ate cabbage and lentils, and because those were cheap. And I baked my own bread and potatoes. And then my boyfriend, who is now my husband, would also have me over for dinner a lot. But here's the spiritual principle that emerged immediately. Literally, the first day that I would have gone to my day job, but now I had quit, like literally Monday morning of the first week of being a full-time musician, I got phone calls I'd never gotten before. There's something about taking the plunge and making the decision and taking the step that I didn't know that spiritual law, but here I put all my focus and my energy on, I'm going to be a full-time musician. And I started getting gigs that I had never had before. So I pursued a solo career all the way through well into the 90s. But by then I was married, and we bought our dream home. We had our first child, and I was really by then struggling with some pretty major health problems and chronic pain, chronic digestive issues, depression, anxiety. I was not in good shape, and I was really, really pushing myself. And, you read everybody's before and after story, and there's always that part of their story that they kind of hit the wall, and they kept trying, and then finally it just wasn't going to work anymore. And, I could tell the comical way to tell the story, or I could tell the dramatic, heart-wrenching way to tell the story. But in either case, I said, I'm done. I'm done as a musician. And I really never intended to return. I did not know that in my heart of hearts, like I was made to be a musician. I was made to express myself this way. And so I started the long haul of really finding out who I was. And music kind of slid in through the side door in many ways, which was a very happy discovery. It was like a reunion with something that it's not like I stopped playing for my own pleasure, but I really had to completely start over. You know, it's like you hear stories of people who have an accident and they lose their ability to speak, or they lose their ability to walk, and they have to learn again. And I feel like that's what happened to me. Is I learned how to be a musician, a performer, a person on stage, a person who has students or mentees, all over again, with this time with rules or under the laws of the universe that actually are the ones that work. And so the satisfaction that I get now is really different from the level of satisfaction. I had sort of an ego-based hunger to prove myself that first round of all those decades ago. And this time around, it really is, I understand I've been given a gift and I have something to share, not just the gift of music, but also my story of look at me, I'm more full and fulfilled and happy and at peace than I've ever been before. And it was all inner work. All of it was inner work, getting from the depression to here.
So that was therapy and counseling kind of work that you'd done all the way along?
I was in therapy with different therapists, and I can point to kind of polka dots. I can connect the dots of the significant moments that kind of pinged me, that were the real lessons. I do think that to some degree it's my nature to get to the why underneath, or not necessarily the why, but the thing that's asking to be seen or heard. And I think most of us, especially, our whole culture is about pop the pill, and there's something like we're taught by Western medicine that you just find the right medicine or find the right procedure and it'll fix you. And like, there was nothing to be fixed in me. There were messages that were longing to be expressed that I didn't know how to listen to, so I suppressed them. And that's what causes disease, and that's what causes depression.
No, I know a lot of musicians have those crises of not really understanding or losing the spark of being a musician, or also
Yeah.
feeling a sense of fear and dread as to, it may not feel like you're
Or failure.
failure. Yeah. Can you talk a little bit about what, if you were put it in a sentence or two, what really changed between the Carla that was at the end of her career in the 90s and who you are today?
I think to some degree, I would just say that maybe to a great degree, I was disconnected from my true self by then, by 1990, whatever it was, that I had tried so long to be what I thought other people wanted me to be so that I would be successful. I was chasing that elusive definition of success that I actually had never even defined for myself. So if you can't define what success looks like, how will you know if you reach it? And it was elusive. So now I am much more intentional, and I'm so much more connected with myself. And so then I'm not searching for something outside of myself. I'm looking for how the next challenge is going to grow me, and seeking, support and building my skills, and often doing it afraid, but doing it afraid not by pushing myself, but by remembering that I have a history of learning new things, and everything so far, I've survived it all. So that's a good track record. That's 100%. All three of us in this Zoom room are successful. We are survivors.
I grasp the not making success be external, driven by external, but completely from you're satisfying yourself. You're not worried about what other people think. Is that too simplistic?
Of course, I am still working on not worrying what other people think, because I definitely, I mean, it's a reflection. I have my own judgmental tendencies. And so I'm judging myself and I'm judging others. And then I'm afraid they're going to judge me, because that's where some of my attention goes. That's still a life lesson I'm working on. But Chris, when you say satisfying myself, it's not just satisfying my human self. It's also that when I look back over my life and I see that my whole life I wanted to be a teacher. I thought I wanted to be a classroom teacher because that's the only kind of teacher I knew to be. But I'm so grateful I didn't become a classroom teacher. Instead, I did work in classrooms as a musician. So I did get to work with children a lot, but now I get to work with motivated grown-ups who have a dream that they either can't clarify for themselves yet, or they feel like it's been beaten down for so long that, like they're not really sure, could I really, really do it? And the answer is yes, always. There's always, if you're dreaming it, there's a way to bring it into form. And so for me, it's that my two life callings, which were to music, to express myself through the form of music, and also to create, what would I say? Not just harmony, but some sort of reconciliation or redemption or transformation through creating music. And then also teaching people and watching them transform and setting my intentions and meeting the intentions. All of that is in service of my life calling. So it's a higher self that I feel like I'm answering now, and not that sort of, I mean, some people would call it the lower self. We all need an ego. It's a necessary, it's essential for us as human beings to have an ego. But when I become a slave to the ego, to the egoic thinking, that's when I got myself into trouble. So satisfying myself is not I'm not keeping a chart of the successes, on one side of the chart and the failures on the other. It's not that kind of thing. It's, I can tell you a little story of, I'm about to do an annual concert project, and in a couple of days. And 2 years ago, for the first time, I went about preparing for it with great intention. And I thought of the joy that people experience at this annual event. And instead of just practicing the music, I practiced the whole image of it, being on the stage, playing with my colleagues, knowing that we were holding a moment for the audience, knowing that the audience was a part of it. I thought ahead to what will I wear? And how does it feel when I wear this? And what am I bringing? And I've always been, up until then, I had been a person who was, I'd get nervous and I'd get on stage and hope I did a good job. And then, and I would generally do a good job. And then I'd say, oh, that was a success. But this time I said, I want to experience it in the present moment through the concert, and I want to enjoy it. And in the middle of the concert, there I was on the stage, and I thought, I'm here. I'm very present. I know I'm bringing what I sought to bring. I know the audience and my colleagues are a part of it. I know that I contributed to the elevated feeling in the room, and I am enjoying it. And that I had no idea up until that experience, that setting an intention and recognizing in the process of carrying it out, that I'm doing it, was the highest form of satisfaction. I had no idea how satisfying that would be. Yeah. And then I got the confirmation from other people coming up and saying, I've never seen you light up a stage like that. And I thought, well, that's because I was there.
Yeah. I know when we finish something, if Steve says, I was in it, I was there, that's also his way of knowing it worked for him. Yeah. And those nights where all we can think of is that the sound is cruddy and we're so worried that people can't understand our lyrics and we're completely in our heads. Yeah. Those are not the fun nights.
I think it's, as an artist, it's kind of a confusing, in a way, society that we live in, because as a singer, as I started off as an actor, and the idea of success was a movie star, or my idea of success as a musician was, 1,000,000 records or 1,000 fans. But the way that you're framing this about that interconnection with yourself, sharing something deeper with an audience and being in the moment, that really seems to make sense about what real success is, especially as a performer.
I agree completely. I think when we come up with that image of, being a successful actor or winning awards or whatever, it's you can see as we're talking about it that that's an external. It's looking from the outside in, and it looks successful from the outside. So when I quit performing and touring 30 years ago, people thought I was successful. I just didn't feel like I was successful.
Yeah. Well, I know that when you really look at how success does destroy many performers, because the disconnect between how it feels on the inside and how it is on the outside is so different, because like I like to read a lot of biographies about performers and how huge stars like Tom Petty would have crippling stage fright before he would go on, and never felt quite like he had made it, and so much that high of a performing level on the outside.
Yeah.
So it really seems that one of the best things we can do is start working on that inner vision of who we are as a performer.
Yeah. Yeah, that's absolutely true.
So here, this is, how do you deal with stage fright? Do you get it anymore?
I get it less and less. I was in a concert last Friday in the area of Baroque music, and we literally were not prepared for the concert. We have lives that are so busy that we really didn't have enough common rehearsal time. And in the past, that would have just really, really scared me. And the shift that's been going on for me in that arena is that I realize that I'm serving a calling. I'm not trying to prove myself.
Mhm.
And so who and what am I serving? There's the calling itself, and then there's this audience that came to see us. And what do I want to create for them? And it's more than the notes. So if some of the notes come out wrong, that's not exactly what they came for.
Yeah.
You know, they didn't come for perfection, they came for connection.
Yeah. True. So I know that you've talked about because I've got stage fright sometimes, but one thing that's helped me and something that you had said at another time was talking about first calming the nervous system, that actually this heightened sense of anxiety is your body kind of doing its job, because you need to rise to a certain extent to be able to perform at that that level. But also to take the moment to do some deep breathing, as you say, is a deep breath in, and then slowly put it out. And I've been practicing that, and it really does make a difference.
It does, because we're talking to the nonverbal part of ourselves that really just is not going to respond to logic. You know, you can tell the people call it the lizard brain, right? The amygdala. You know, these people are no threat to me, but that level of the nervous system is wired to sense danger. And in our hardwiring from our ancestry, you know, way back, being visible on the Serengeti desert surface was life-threatening. You know, then you'd be seen by the lion or the hyena or whatever.
Mhm.
And now the internet and the stage and your job interview are the Serengeti. So the amygdala respond the same way. And yeah, that breath that you're describing, when you slow down, when you very consciously slow down your exhale, you're giving a signal to the amygdala. See, I can't be running from a hyena right now because I wouldn't be able to breathe like this if I were. It's a shortcut.
Yeah.
I'm wondering, kind of along the same lines of stage fright, is if in the midst of it and something does go wrong. And,
Yeah.
there's the rolling with the punches approach, and there's the little person sitting on my shoulder that says, "You bozo." Oh, much
Right.
worse,
Mhm.
and much worse. Um, you would be an amazing human if you had completely silenced your inner critic.
Well, what if every time that inner critic speaks up, first of all, I understand that it's trying to protect me. It feels like an attack, but actually it's there. It is its best effort to protect me, to keep me safe. And our system tries to keep us safe by returning us to the old, smaller box that we used to live in because we survived in there. And now, if we're stretching and taking new risks, that part of us is going to feel threatened. So if I first of all say, "Oh yeah, you're just trying to protect me, thank you," it's hard to do. I mean, you have to this is all a practice, right? But the other part of it is, well, is there something that I would do different next time? And then you get less scared of your inner critic when occasionally it has actually a helpful message.
I know that you kind of apply that same approach with failure or a mistake that you make in your career or whatever. Uh,
Mhm.
but those are actually incredible opportunities to learn. But it's from that point that people usually rise and fly above. Carla, I'm going to quote you on something that I love. what you say is that if you open up to a world of infinite possibilities, probably somewhere in there there is a possibility that can transform this experience and bring you to a next step. I
Right.
love that thought.
Yeah, infinite is really big.
Yes.
I was hoping that you would do a song for us. Would you be up for playing something?
Sure. Um, it may seem funny, but I thought I would do a song that is off of a couple like 3 albums ago for me. I guess it's the title song, an album called The Undertow. And this was when I was a few months into this devastating depression that I fell into in 1989 is when it just plummeted one day. And so a few months into it, everybody was trying to get me to feel better. I was in therapy, I was doing all the do. And I wrote this song, and it was a really amazing experience of making tangible this intangible thing of feeling depressed. And somehow claiming it strengthened me. I was not trying to deny it, but by making a song that described how I was feeling, I felt more empowered. And in some ways, my energy began to return to me after writing this song. And it was just a little lesson in the long line of connect the dot lessons of doing what we can do from where we are. And then the next thing becomes possible. And people were shocked that I had written this song. They thought I was, like, wouldn't that be too painful? And I was like, no, it was less painful. But the other thing I can add is that I never said the word depression. I was way too afraid to ever say the depression, even though I was still performing for several more years before I left my career. I never said the word depression. So I blanketed it. It was like, I was sort of in a dark time. I kept qualifying it. And it's only now I feel strong enough, that I'm not worried about a stigma being attached to me or anything. Like, I see it as my victory that I worked my way through and came out on the other side. But so I'll sing you this song, The Undertow.
Thank you.
I never meant to feel this way, but I do. I'm on my knees, baying at the moon. This sadness rocks me like the tide to the undertow. Oh, I never meant to feel this way, but I do. Try to soothe me with your hands and your words and your eyes. My friends are patient, understanding, and kind, but I bow and I bend in the undertow. I never meant to feel this way, but I do. The autumn yields to winter's call with a sigh. The day gives silently, falling to the I never meant to feel this way, but I do. I never meant to feel this way, but I do. I'm on my knees, I'm baying at the moon. This sadness rocks me like the tide to the undertow. Oh, I never meant to feel this way, but I do.
Wow,
Beautiful.
Thank you.
that's gorgeous. We really have a special gift as songwriters to be able to mine those feelings and let your sort of your inner writer kind of work these things out, and then you put them in a song, and then you listen to it and say, oh yeah, yeah, that makes sense. You know, we're very lucky.
It's
I
very
think.
therapeutic. Lots of times. Lots of times.
For me, I think when I look back, first of all, I totally agree with my singer-songwriter friend Kim Wallach, who lives out in New Hampshire, who said to me once, my songs always seem to carry wisdom that I don't know yet.
Yeah.
And that's definitely been true for me. And now I look and I see that in every single song, even when it looked like, you know, even when you could say, well, I was wallowing in being depressed, but the song was redemptive for me. So
Mhm.
there is always transformation, even if the song itself is what the transformation is for me. But many of my songs, the transformation happens in the song, and I couldn't finish the song until I got to the point where something could transform from it.
Yeah. Well, Carla, thank you so much for coming on again. This you're the first artist that's been on two of our podcasts, so I couldn't be happier.
I'm honored.
I tell everybody that check out Carla's website at carlasciaky.com. And she also has a brand new CD out called Heart of the Swan. And Heart of the Swan is just doing great. And I think you deserve everything that's happening with you and this
Thank you.
CD.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Carla.
Thank you. It's such an honor and a treat to talk with both of you.
All right. Thank you.
Gotta smile, 'cause to tell you the truth,